Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, coming to you live from rural St. George. We got a good show lined up today. We got JC kicking off here in just a second. Then we'll be joined by former Gator quarterback. Is he the real number 15, Wayne Peace? Will be joining us. Good morning, JC. What's happening?
Hey. It's just another great day following another glorious American League win in the All-Star game. I think this makes, 10 in a row, 11 in a row, some ridiculous number like that. But, I think it showed that the star powers in the American League, it has been for decades. I love the American League because it just angers all of these baseball purists and all these National League fans that there's a designated hitter. It just kills them. They hate it. They want it to change, but it'll never change. And then, of course, you have the best ballparks of all time in the American League. You have Yankee Stadium. You have Fenway Park. I think it's just the American League's got so much more personality than the National League. Back in the day when we were growing up, QB, the National League had Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh, Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta.
Bush.
The most horrible places, these multifaceted circles that they made these poor football teams play in on these god-awful AstroTurf surfaces, except in Atlanta. But then you would have baseball infields to run through in the beginning of the football season. So the National League is garbage. I've never liked the National League. The teams are boring. The American League is where it's at, baby. I hope somebody
I thought you liked the Padres.
I do. San Diego. I mean, they've got a great ballpark there. They do, but that's just one team. Growing up and watching baseball my whole life, though, it's all been American League baseball. I just think it's better. You got that. You had that cool Anaheim Stadium with the big A in the left field with the circle around the top of the A.
That would be a halo.
The halo. And these guys, the Milwaukee Brewers back in the day, were an American League team. Hank Aaron started his playing days in Milwaukee for the Milwaukee Braves, eventually ended up in Atlanta. But the National League was just an antiseptic, boring league. You get the pitcher up there to try to bunt, or he strikes out. It was awful. I don't care about managing. I don't care about, it's harder to manage in the National League because you have a pitcher hitting. Baloney. It's better in the American League. Life is better in the American League.
Life is. Speaking of that, the American League, I think they won 5-2. I watched zero pitches in the All-Star game. Zero.
Well, you know what? I only saw about 5, and one of them was a home run by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The one cool thing they did last night on the broadcast was that they mic'd up Fernando Tatis. So as he was playing shortstop and these big bombers are up there about to hit, he's talking to Joe Buck. And then when he's at the plate, this is even better. He's up there talking to Joe Buck about which pitch he thinks he can drill over the fence. And he almost did. He hit a fly ball or deep right field in the third inning or something like that last night. But that was really cool of him to be able to say, yeah, sure, mic me up and I'll let you know what I'm thinking out there on the field as we play in the All-Star game. Kind of a low scoring game for a game in Colorado. Typically, those are high scoring games out there. That ballpark, because the ball flies so far and usually carries very well. But 5-2 was the final. Good pitching from the American League once again. Mike Zunino, the former Florida Gator, playing for is it Tampa? Who's he playing with?
That's for the Rays. You love the Rays. You don't even know who the hell the catcher is.
Well, I did say he was playing for Tampa, but he had a home run last night as well in the All-Star game. I mean, the guy's made quite a career for himself as a Major League Baseball player. And as has Pete Alonso, man. I mean, winning the All-Star game home run hitting contest. I mean, he lives for that. And New York loves him up there, or the Mets do, and Mets fans. And so, it's a couple Gators making some splashes there on the All-Star weekend. We had a home run in the game by Zunino and a home run hitting contest winner in Alonso. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, so we had a Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. John says, is what Ohtani doing now more impressive than what Babe Ruth did 100 years ago?
Well, listen, I don't even mention those two names together because you can't. Ohtani is a new guy on the scene right now. If he does it over 15 or 20 years, maybe. But Babe Ruth is Babe Ruth. I mean, I guess what he's really asking is it harder for what Ohtani's doing today than it was for what Babe did then? I don't see how you can really answer that question. The ballparks back then were much bigger than they are today. You hit different. I mean, you used different bats and balls were different back then, and pitching was different. So it's hard to really say, but it is impressive. I think what this youngster from Japan has done and is doing. I don't know what his star or his lasting power will be. I don't know how long he'll be able to actually pitch in this league as it is today and play in the outfield. But it is impressive. But I would never compare those two right now.
If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Call them today, QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Speaking with JC on the Titan MRI hotline, we'll be joined by former Gator quarterback Wayne Peace.
Wayne Peace.
Momentarily.
Yeah.
JC, people want to know, did you win your tennis match?
It was very close. We were down 5-2 in the first set, lost at 7-5, and I was serving to go up 6-5 with a 40-15 advantage on the deuce side and lost that game, and we lost 7-5 for 5-7. Then in the second set, we lost by a couple of games. So it was a 2-set loss, heartbreaking, but we were playing guys that were probably above the 3.0 level.
They were cheating. They're like well, they didn't turn in the correct handicap.
Yeah. Well, in tennis, they have a problem at USTA rankings because the computers really didn't update during COVID. So you've got a lot of these 3.5s and 4.0s playing down to a 3.0 level this year until they adjust in December. They'll move up. I'll stay at 3.0, which to me is a good level to be. But we competed, man. I mean, I played against this guy who's been playing tennis for 50 years here. His name was Phil. And then this younger Asian player who was a 3.5. I mean, he was. He had a forehand lob shot that was just tremendous, and he never missed anything. So it was hard, but we came back. My partner and I, Robert, were down 5-2 in the first set, and we tied it, but we couldn't get over the hump.
JC, you claim to know all about baseball ballparks, correct?
I know everything.
Okay, Rick here on Facebook Live, when you start naming all these ballparks, he goes, what about Crosley Field in Burgerville?
Okay,
you know where that is?
No, but what is that, a minor league? I've never heard of Burgerville. I don't know if Rick's making that up or not. I will tell you that Forbes Field in Pittsburgh was cool. I will tell you that the Polo Grounds were so big that you could get lost just walking through the place. Ebbets Field, these dimensions were huge, and that's why that question about Ohtani and Babe Ruth really doesn't apply, I think, because today Yankee Stadium's porch is closer in left field than it was back in those days. I think it was closer. I'm pretty sure it was. But, the ballparks, I am a stadium guy. I love the stadiums, but those National League ballparks were a joke in the 70s. They were awful.
Well, back in those days, they were like cookie cutters.
They were
just circular arenas.
You had NFL franchises playing on these surfaces that were unplayable. The Eagles played on a dangerous surface, and Wendell Davis could tell you that.
I was at that game.
Yeah, he blew both his knees out on one play. Michael Irvin, same thing. I mean, it was just horrible what these guys were asked to do and play on. And it's inexcusable that these owners like Norman Brayman and people like that in Philadelphia, which you can expect this kind of thing from Philadelphia, right? But it was just unbelievable that the NFL would allow that. Pete Rozelle should have taken charge or done something. I don't know. It's just awful what they had in Philadelphia. And the baseball stadium was a joke. I mean, that place was so big, you could sit out in left center or right center field or dead center field at Veterans Stadium and not be able to see who was at the plate. You wouldn't be able to see unless you would know who's at the plate, but you would barely be able to see Mike Schmidt or Greg Luzinski. Even as big as Greg Luzinski was, you could barely see him. And this is in a place that I guess they just tried to do everything in one spot, but it was awful, god awful. So that's the National League for you.
A lot of people here on Facebook Live are commenting that UF is the only school to have a player in both the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby.
Okay.
So since we're on baseball, we're going to talk about this day in sports, which is brought to our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp is now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture and benefits, and opportunity for growth. A $1,000 signing bonus for qualified positions. Give Comfort Temp a call. It's 352-376-2366. This day in sports in 1968, Hammer and Hank hit his 500th home run off some dude named Mike McCormick.
Okay. Well, Hammer and Hank, they could have had this all-star game in Atlanta, right? I mean, Hank Aaron passes away. They had it in Atlanta. They take it away for a bogus reason. And there he is, dead. And on this day in history, he hits that home run. Well, look, I mean, they don't care. They don't care. They're going to do whatever looks good in their minds, whatever reality they choose to live in Major League Baseball. I'm not sure really what it is, but I'm sure the people in Denver were thrilled to have a game given to them. And there you have it. Atlanta loses $100 million in revenue potential, and it's over for Atlanta. Nobody cares about Atlanta.
Since you brought up ballparks, Gene says on Facebook Live, the Astrodome, one of the wonders of the world. I think it was the 8th wonder of the world back in the day.
That's what they called it.
What about Wrigley Field, JC? That's a national
That's a good
ballpark.
one. I will give you – there are a few good ones, but there were more bad ones. And there's no doubt Wrigley Field was cool. But Candlestick Park in San Francisco was an abomination for baseball. It was an abomination, Gene. And the Astrodome was cool because it had a roof on it, but it's tiny, it's little, and you only had 40,000 fans, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't as grand and massive as you think it was. It's certainly not
40,000 people in the
not
Astrodome.
For baseball. Not for baseball. Check it out. And
all right.
and I'll tell you another thing. It could fit inside of the Superdome, okay? So it was not that grand and massive. The Superdome, on the other hand, is grand and massive, but you could have put the Houston Astrodome inside the Louisiana Superdome, and we've all been there. So it's nothing special.
I like
How about
this
in Kansas City? You got in Kansas City, you have waterfalls. I mean, yeah. Beautiful.
Coy says on Facebook Live, your conversation with Neil Anderson had me watching 84 reruns. That backfield was sicker than sick. Watch 84 at Tennessee on YouTube. He says, although after watching Spurrier's quarterbacks, I will say that Kerwin Bell's mechanics were terrible. That is so true. Kerwin learned a lot when he was a graduate assistant. My first year, Spurrier's first year in 1990, he was a graduate assistant. And that's how Kerwin, he learned so much as a GA and has taken that into his coaching career.
It's a good point. It's a good point, but his mechanics may have been this or that, but he executed the plays when he needed to execute them. And when they played Auburn and Georgia back-to-back, and back in those days, they would play Auburn and Georgia back-to-back, and it was a very hard sequence for Florida football. And usually it went very badly. But in 84, my man, they blew them out, both teams. And that was the first time when Gator fans, including myself in those days, looked up and said, wow, this is a team that's really good for the first time in a long time, and or ever, at least in my lifetime. And when they put it on Auburn and Georgia in back-to-back weeks in that year, and I think they did it again in 85, but 84's team was no joke, baby. And they at the end of the year, as I said on Monday, they were the best team in the country. And I think anybody with any sense of football will admit that, except the BYU folks, of course.
Daryl sends a text on the Titan More text line. He says, good morning, guys. Shane, I think JC just likes different team logos, and I think he knows someone that owns a sporting goods company. No, JC's that guy that he's a 57 or 56-year-old kid that when you used to get the Sears catalog before Christmas,
I love
with all the NFL stuff. That's JC at an older age on fanatics.com or one of those places.
I love the Sears catalog. Man, that's a blast right there. In Gainesville, they had the Gainesville Mall way over there off 13th Street, and you had Sears connected by a bunch of secondary stores, and then a place called Moss Brothers. And we were, as kids, the treat was to go to Sears and go down to the third floor, down to the bottom, and there was a toy department that was the size of my house. It was beautiful, and I think you got just a legendary place to go to if you grew up in Gainesville was the Gainesville Mall. It's not there anymore, of course, but Sears was cool.
Turn your car or truck into a rolling billboard for business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. This July, mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. A few more minutes with JC, then we'll get to Wayne Peace. Brady, I got this question here for you, JC.
Go ahead.
John says on Facebook Live, if Reggie Bush gets his Heisman back, does the 84 and the 1990 Florida teams get their championships?
I don't think it should matter what happens to Reggie Bush. Let's have somebody up there at the University of Florida show some guts and recognize these schools, okay? Let's just do that. Why don't we just do that? Why does Reggie Bush matter in anything? Let's give the University of Florida football players of those teams and those eras the due that they are owed. This administration or this athletic department hasn't yet done that, and neither has their predecessors, but they need to, because those teams played football wearing that hat and that helmet and that uniform, and they were very successful and very good. And you know what the coaches, what happened with the probation and so forth, I don't think had anything to do with those players, and certainly not in 1990, as we know. So that was a big ripoff. So. Gosh, I absolutely have to say that they have to be recognized. I don't know why you wouldn't. Why wouldn't you recognize? Just tell me one reason. Get somebody on this podcast, Shane. You know everybody over there. Why isn't that team or those two teams recognized on campus? And let's hear somebody actually say it.
Well, they were, the 90 team was always recognized at one time. I think it was in the South End Zone. It said first in the SEC, and I don't know
about this big. It was about this big.
Was the 84 and 85 teams part of that, or no? I can't remember.
No. The 84 and 85 teams were in the Charlie Pell era.
I know that, but I'm talking about on the wall. It used to say first in the SEC.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
They made
so there was an 80, take it down. There was a no. I get that, which was wrong, by the way, for him to do. But was the 84 and 85 recognition on that wall? And I can't say that.
I don't think it was, because I could be wrong, but I think because Coach Spurrier is big on all that kind of stuff, and I think he made a point to put up there first in the SEC 19.
Well, now that Jeremy's gone, why don't we get it right? Okay, just because Jeremy Foley didn't agree with it, let's do it right. Okay.
See, Dan says here on Facebook only they had the 90 team on the wall.
Okay, fine. Jeremy Foley didn't go to the University of Florida. Okay, he was employed by them, worked in the ticket office before he did anything. They need to get that right. It doesn't matter what he said or didn't want to do now. Then. That's his decision. He lives with that. But the 84 and 85 team and 90 team needs to be on there.
Rick says, JC, get out and march in front of the stadium. Get some picket signs.
Justice for 84.
I think you should lead that charge.
Okay. Well, listen, I loved that team. That was the first team. I wasn't even here. It was my first year in college, and I was away. I went out of state to school at Alabama, but I watched the Gators play. And I watched the Gators play good football, and I told everybody in the dorm up there, I said, watch these guys beat the hell out of Auburn, and they did, and Georgia. So, I just don't know how you don't recognize those teams. I can't. If you can get somebody on here to give me a legitimate reason, then I'll listen, but it's not going to be.
Yeah. Tonight, game 4 of the NBA Finals. The Suns are at the Bucks. It's a 9:00 start. I think the Bucks are going to top the series tonight.
So,
we shall see.
Here we go. 9:00 start. You're going to see the first half at the most, right? I mean, You're going to stay up for that?
Real quick, celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Le Macaron French Pastries, Palmetto Moon, and coming August the 11th. Write it down, JC.
I got
Get your pen and paper. August the 11th. The HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Tailgate and Rooftop Bar will be open to the public. So
now is Visor's open on is the Visor's
the whole damn restaurant, all 18,000 or whatever it is.
I thought I read something about Visor's is not going to be in full operation till September, but I hope that's wrong. Did I misread that?
I could be wrong, but hell, if you're going to.
Okay, so QB, let's get your information together here. Visor's is not open till September.
Well, that's my favorite part.
Well, I agree. I mean, you're going to have your little corner seat there to be unencumbered by locals, and you'll have your little area. But my gosh, let's get this place going. Can we please? Yep. I mean, football season is here. It's coming.
And Dan says FSU has those Native American protesting every game, so JC can be out there beating his 84 and 90 drum outside the stadium every week.
Seminoles are on board, dude. Seminoles are on board with that.
Okay, so let's switch gears.
Wait. What were you laughing at there just a second ago?
I was like, JC's not going to beat the Gator drum. He's going to be in Tuscaloosa beating their drum.
No, I mean, I love the Florida teams of the past. I loved them. I love the 90s teams. I love the 80s teams. You can't tell me otherwise. But but by the way, the Bucks are -4, QB. You going to lay the 4?
Is everybody healthy? I don't even know. I haven't watched them yet.
That's a good question. I think they are, but
I just think both these teams are not great teams. I just think it's going to end up being a 7-game series somehow, maybe 6. But
all right, could be.
So JC, let's get to our Peachland Dentistry. Gator Nation's number one choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. And it's time for the JC and the QB picks. Pretty soon we're going to have football picks. It's like 40-something days.
Can't wait, God. Football. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're getting there, man. It's just as soon as we can get through July, just get through this month of July. We're almost halfway there, baby. It's coming.
The British Open, the British Open at Royal St. George, as we are broadcasting live from the Meldon, not the Meldon Law Studios, but it's the Crime Prevention Studios in Royal St. George. I'll be teeing it up in the Pro-Am after we're done here. As you can see in the background.
All right.
So JC, I'm picking first because it's my show.
Okay.
And I'm going to take. I think Brooks Koepka's pissed off. I think he's going to come out and play well this week.
I don't believe that. You're actually taking Brooks Koepka. That's a shocker. Give me John Rahm.
Oh, that's a shocker.
I like that guy, man. I think he's cool. I'm all for him.
All right, give me the X-Man. It's time for that little joker to win.
Yeah, he don't have the game for this up there. I'm going to go – nah, he's not going to be even close. I'm going to go with your boy, the Norwegian, Victor Hovland. Victor Hovland is ready to bust open. Let's go with him. I like
that pick. He's kind of I haven't heard from him in a while. Maybe he's taking about a month off.
Yeah, he's ready. He's ready to go.
And then my last pick, I'm going Patrick Cantley.
Yeah, okay. That's a 2-time winner this year on tour, playing great golf. Give me Paul Casey, the Englishman. Paul Casey, Paul Casey's due. I would have picked Justin Rose, but I'm not sure about how he's feeling these days. He's a little injury issues. His little injury issues are lingering.
Rick says, when are either of you going to pick a winner?
What? I had John Rahm. I had him in the U.S. Open, Rick. I had him in the Memorial, Rick.
So he didn't win the Memorial.
You know what I'm talking about. He would have. He was running away with it before they screwed him.
So JC, before we let you go, John's got a good question here on Facebook Live brought to you by Mental Law. He says, speaking of football, is it too close to the season for Aaron Rodgers to go to another team?
Well, Aaron Rodgers is not telling anybody anything, or if he has, they're not sharing the information because he doesn't want them to. But they did say at Green Bay that he will be fined $50,000 a day, as if that really matters, if he doesn't show up for camp. Now, I think the Packers are going to sign him. I think they're going to keep him for one more year. I think he gives them the best chance to win. I think they're smart enough to know that. But I don't know, QB. I guess he can go anywhere. If he's,
he can. It is getting close.
It is. Denver is the team you said he was going to. That still hasn't happened yet. So as far as I know, Denver's got Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock at quarterback. That's who Denver has. They don't have Aaron Rodgers. So Green Bay will re-sign Aaron Rodgers is my thought for one more year.
And JC is still pulling for his Jags to win 7 games.
Absolutely. Over 7 is the play, QB. You remember, we have this friendly wager. It's over 7 for Jacksonville.
All right. I don't see it happening.
Okay. I look at the schedule and I see it happening. But
I understand that, but they don't have a lot of good players. You got to have good players to win in that league.
Oh, okay. Well, they didn't last year, that's for sure. Maybe they haven't.
Who the hell did they add other than the quarterback and
a couple players in the draft? I mean, they still have some guys who didn't play well last year who could play better this year. I love some of their players. I love Miles Jack. I think he's a good player. I mean, maybe not, but I'm gonna go over 7. I am. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go 2-2 in the first quarter of the season.
Well, we will see you Friday. I guess while we're doing our show Friday, the golf will be going on.
That's right. It'll be late in the round too, probably. Or
actually,
not late,
they tee off. What about 2:00 in the morning? Right.
Well, they're 5 hours ahead. So if you're 7:30 tee time, it's 2:30 a.m. And again, this is just. This is it. I mean, after this, there really isn't anything left in sports.
Are you going to wake up early this morning and get you some hot tea and watch the British Open?
No, I get grapefruit juice for your liver. It's really good.
You have to drink hot tea if you're in England.
That's true. Okay. All right,
JC.
Okay,
we'll talk to you on Friday, my man.
All right. See you then.
All right. That's JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Going to take our first time out. Come back. We'll be joined by former Gator quarterback Wayne Peace on the Titan More Hotline. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Carter Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
We're looking for all type of restaurant people, managers, servers, bartenders, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, bussers. If you think you're good in the restaurant business, then give us a call.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill job fair is open now. All you have to do is go to spurriersdraft.com and fill out an application.
We're looking for the good team members, and we're looking for people with a wonderful attitude that can make Spurrier's Gridiron Grill the best we can possibly be. To apply, go to spurriersdraft.com.
Now we're going to go back to the Titan MR Hotline, and we're joined by former Gator quarterback, the first number 15, Wayne Peace. Good morning, Wayne. How are you, buddy?
Truly blessed, man. We're just thrilled. Family's doing well, and hey, thanks so much for having me on this morning.
Absolutely. So Wayne, what I like to do with former players, and they come on my show, we go back long ways. Back in the day when they were growing up, you grew up in the Lakeland area. I read where you were a tremendous high school basketball player, as well as we all know a football player. Talk a little bit about what made you choose the University of Florida. Were there other schools that you thought about or you took visits to?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny, Shane, because obviously I go way, my recruitment was 40 years ago. And when you can say 40 years ago, you're getting up there in age, but it was so different back then because heck, I never saw my first college scout until probably fall of my junior year at Lakeland High School. And then more started coming around in that spring prior to my senior year. But yeah, when it came down to it, my junior year, I was signed, sealed, and delivered to Bobby Bowden at Florida State because they were the first school that really were showing me a lot of attention. And it just kind of evolved in that I went to summer camp at the University of Florida with Coach Pell. And I just realized, it's just going to be instead of 4.5 hours away, it was 2 hours away. And so financially easier traveling on my parents. It was going to be easier for them to come watch me play. So, and that's kind of how I ended up at the University of Florida, and obviously thrilled to death at how it all went while I was there.
So was Coach Pell the one coach that was the most involved in your recruiting efforts, or what coaches from the staff were assigned your area, I should say?
Yeah, Jim King was my actual recruiter, and he was the offensive line coach. And And then Mike Shanahan had not yet taken the offensive coordinator position. So I didn't really have a chance to meet Coach Shanahan until I actually showed up on campus that summer. But Coach Pell was very involved, Jim King. And once again, it was just so different. These kids that are being recruited now, they touch base with recruits all over the country. And when I signed with Florida and showed up that summer, and they basically told all of us that signed, you have got to be here at summer school. I think there was one other player that I actually had met before that signed in that class. So as you can see, it was just a totally, totally different day back then.
Yeah, so you get here and you end up having to play as a freshman. Bob Hugo, I believe, breaks his foot or leg or something, goes down. Yeah. Talk a little bit about playing as a freshman and, were you prepared? I mean, were you ready to play?
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of our fans would have thought, no, he shouldn't be playing. He wasn't ready to play. But, it's just funny. As a quarterback, I think the mentality has just got to be, dadgummit, I'm ready to play. Let's go. Mm-hmm. And I never, they did a good job of protecting me, getting me ready to play. Once they made the decision I was going to be the guy, they did a good job of really having the running game protect me as a quarterback. Didn't require me to do a whole lot the first couple of games. It's interesting because my first start was, up in Ole Miss, and we were playing Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi. And I remember, when I get nervous, I sleep. And we stayed in Sardis, Mississippi, which was about a 45-minute ride from Sardis into Oxford. And man, I was so nervous. And I remember I fell asleep, and I remember them having to wake me up on the bus to get me off the bus to go get ready to play the game. And I remember Robin Fisher was our starting nose guard at the time and a team leader. He was kind of looking at me like, holy crap, what have we just gotten ourselves into? But no, I never felt I didn't feel intimidated. Felt like I had a great group of seniors around me, and they did it. And Mike Shanahan did a great job of protecting me, getting me ready to play. And then, he was just so demanding. And as a quarterback, he just demanded things of you. And, so I was prepared, and I felt really good and really enjoyed the year, quite honestly.
Yeah. Speaking of Mike Shanahan, I mean, obviously you had the pleasure of playing for him, and he went on to the NFL and won Super Bowls. Just talk a little bit, as you mentioned, he was pretty demanding on you, but just talk about how he was as a coach with his quarterbacks.
Dude, let me tell you, he's a quarterback's dream. The neat thing for me, too, here I am 18 years old, starting quarterback at the University of Florida. Mike at that time, I believe, was 26, 27. So he was really youthful. He related to you. And when I say demanding, I don't mean that as in a negative, beat you over the head kind of guy. It wasn't at all, because his personality was, I swear to goodness, there were times when he'd get me on the headset during a game and get on to me about a play or a misread or whatever. Mm-hmm. But he did it in such a way where you never felt demeaned. In fact, there were a couple of times I remember thinking, dang, was he mad? It was just hard to tell because he was so good with people. Quality human being, just a great, phenomenal man. But one of the things that he started early on my freshman year was I had to get up on the team meetings on Friday night, obviously at the hotel, had to get up in front of the entire team and recite the starting defense, what their tendencies were. I had to have height, weight, year of every player, what their number was, and tendencies and what the defense liked to do. So, so all week long, I was preparing to make sure when I got up in front of my teammates on a Friday night, I was not going to embarrass myself. So they knew I knew what I was talking about, and hopefully they knew what I was about to do.
That's good stuff. We got a couple of questions here for you on Facebook Live, brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorneys. Jeff wants you to talk a little bit about Wilbur Marshall and that USC game.
Gosh, it's interesting, and there is no doubt that athletes today, they're better athletes. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. Okay. But I've told so many people about Wilbur Marshall, and that Wilbur Marshall was a great player 40 years ago. He would be a great player right now, and he would be a great player 30 years from now. He was just one of those freak of nature athletes that made things so easy, and he had a tenacity about him. But yeah, it's amazing because back in those days, especially USC, they ran that sweep and they just never would block that weak side defensive end. Guys weren't fast enough to run down their tailbacks. And dude, all game long, he was living on their tailback and living in their backfield. And obviously that was his coming out party. And Wilbur was truly, truly, truly one of the best athletes, probably the best athlete I've ever been around in my life. And he's just it was amazing to watch him play. You know, I ended up having back surgery the summer before my senior year in Gainesville. And I'm convinced it was because of that joker, because back in those days, spring practice, quarterbacks were not protected.
Yeah.
And remember, his freshman year, he was a tight end. And then they moved him to outside linebacker that spring. That joker hit me in the back so many times that spring, it wasn't even funny. I mean, those left tackle, they couldn't handle it. He was just too quick. And so anyway, I say that lovingly because I've got a lot of fond memories of Wilvin Marshall.
They didn't want to put a red jersey on the quarterback back in those days, huh?
No, dude, it was a different day. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Finally, because Cuco and I, obviously, and Bob Cuco was a heck of a quarterback. And, unfortunate for him, fortunate for me, he was injured and I had a chance to play. But each year after that, we were competing for the starting job every spring. And because of that, dude, we were live. I mean, we had no red jerseys. It was full go, get after it. So, and then finally, the spring before my senior year, I was the guy. So they put me in a jersey and I couldn't get hit the spring of my senior year. So,
Dan's got a question here on Facebook Live brought to you by Pound Herd. He wants to know, were you the first Gator on the cover of Sports Illustrated?
I think so, yes. I can't swear to that. But the cool part about that for me was, I mean, my whole life, I've just always been a sports fanatic. And I remember as a kid, I couldn't wait. And I remember when I was a kid growing up, heck, I paid for the subscription because my parents couldn't afford it. But that it would show up on Thursdays, and I couldn't wait to get the mail on Thursday so I could read cover to cover. Because remember, back in those days, you just didn't have the 24-hour access to sports that we have now. And so it was always really neat for me to get that and read it and stay up on what was going on in the world of sports. Well, I got our PR guy at Florida, Norm Carlson, kind of gave me the heads up, dude, you're going to be on the cover. I couldn't wait all week up in Gainesville at Yon Hall to run to my little deal to grab my Sports Illustrated out. So that was an honor and just a really cool thing.
No doubt about it. Todd wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Pound Hurt. Wayne, can you share your insight on the 1980 Florida-Georgia Lindsey Scott game?
Absolutely. Two things stand out to me about that game. Obviously, the Lindsey Scott play at the end. The other one was, it's one of those surreal moments when you really realize, man, this is big time football. Because I remember we came out of the tunnel and we're waiting. It was a nationally televised game. And we're literally standing outside the tunnel before they let us run out on the field. And I remember standing there amongst all my teammates and the fans, and you see all the fans just going crazy and your teammates jumping up and down, but yet it was dead silence. And obviously there wasn't dead silence, but to me, it was just dead silence. It was it was that surreal moment of, wow, this is big time. This is something I've watched my whole life, college sports, and I'm actually in it. I'm actually a part of it. But I remember, to this day, obviously, I constantly have people ask me about the play, ask me about that game. And yeah, we go from, I remember, we actually opened things up offensively that game. I had an awful week of practice. We were doing strictly 4 wide. And quite honestly, like I said, I had an awful week of practice. National TV, we're getting ready to play the number 2 ranked team in the country. Herschel Walker, obviously. And heck, early on in the game, Herschel breaks a long touchdown run. And I remember all of us thinking, man, what's about to happen here? And then it just all kind of settled in. And we played great, had the lead late in the game, obviously. I remember sitting there with James Jones. We're sitting on the bench. We're kind of high-fiving, and all of a sudden that play broke and they went. So, it's really what sport, with the kind of cool thing about sports is how quick it can go from that extreme high to that extreme low. And by the same token, go from that extreme low to that extreme high.
No doubt. We're speaking with Wayne Peace on the Tight Number Hotline. Wayne, and I think it was in 82, you set an NCAA completion percentage record at 70%. It was later broken by some dude named Steve Young.
Steve Young, yeah.
He was pretty good. 70% is dang good for a year, my man.
Well, you got to understand, too, now, Shane, the offense we ran was so different than what you guys ran. I mean,
right.
It just totally was. And it was precision. It was quick, get the ball out, throw the ball on the run a lot. So the game has evolved and changed so much. So, but it was really kind of cool when I got the notice that it was the NCAA record. And I was a little pissed at my buddy Steve Young. I got to know him during our college years, especially the summer before our senior year. And the Joker the very next year breaks it. So a little bit short-lived, but it was pretty neat.
Yeah, no doubt. Talk a little bit about, obviously a lot of people in the Gator Nation remember the game-winning touchdown pass against the Miami Hurricanes in 1982.
Yeah. It's funny. Like you, I've done a lot of work with young quarterbacks over the years. And one of the things that I've talked to them about was I said, look, everybody is so concerned with, does every one of my passes spiraling? And I said, because let me tell you something, probably the most remembered ball I threw at the University of Florida, we were playing the University of Miami. They're big favorites. It was a wobbling duck that James Jones somehow caught and we scored. But guess what? All that said in the paper was Wayne Pease threw the touchdown pass. Right. But I'm telling you, if you could see the video of it, it was ugly. Big day, big game, obviously, playing against Jim Kelly at the University of Florida, Gainesville Field. And honestly, I remember Coach Pell called that catch a Willie Mays Deluxe, and it really was. It really was. It was much more of a catch than a throw. And earlier in the game, it was a boot pass. Earlier in the game, down on the goal line, the same route it was called 32 naked pass. And they covered. I ran it in for a score. And then late, when we actually used that play later, same play we used earlier, and they just kind of sucked back on the tight end a little bit, and I kind of hesitated. There was nowhere to run, and I remember seeing James just kind of slung it out to him, and the rest is history, so to speak.
So talk a little bit about Charlie Pell, your head coach, your relationship you had when you played with him, and what he meant to you.
Yeah, and I say this wholeheartedly. I don't think Coach Pell really ever got the credit he deserved for getting Florida football back to where it needed to be. And obviously there were some issues, but when I played for him, it was kind of a love-hate relationship, in that, sometimes I was ready to hang him, and I'm sure sometimes he was ready to hang me. But when it was all said and done, I just had extreme respect for the man, because, as a man in this society, one thing I like and I enjoy is for people to look me in the eye and be honest with me. And sometimes that's hard to accept, but Coach Pell would look you in the eye and he would tell you what he wanted to tell you. And sometimes, I didn't like it at that point in my life. Maybe I wasn't mature enough to accept it or handle it. But by the time I was done there, I realized, that's the best thing he could have ever done to me. I want people to look me in the eye, be honest with me about, and he was honest with me about the way I was playing or what was going on the team. And so have just utmost respect for Coach Pell, and was really just very happy to have the opportunity to play for him.
Wayne, you're a member of the University of Florida Hall of Fame, well deserved. But what would you say is the greatest moment that you had as a Gator?
Greatest moment, Shane, it's really hard to tie one down. Because I feel so blessed to have had a chance to play at the University for 4 years. All the relationships and the people and just the times, and the one moment that stands out the most is that moment at the start of the Georgia game that I told you about. Because it was just weird. It was just like, and I've never in my life experienced anything like it before or since. And that it was just total quiet. The world around you was chaos. Players jumping everywhere, fans going crazy. But yet there was just this quiet moment where I realized, dude, man, you're about to really do this. It's something that you've looked forward to. And even though I've already had a chance to play a few other games prior to that, that it was just massive. And, and I like to add this, I'm asked a lot, do you miss playing? And the answer is no, I don't miss playing. But I'm quick to tell them, but I tell you what I do miss. I miss the camaraderie of my teammates. That when you have so many people brought together from so many different surroundings, and you come together, and and I always use the example of, we used to do spring agilities. The first 2 years we were there, it was an hour of just pure hell. There's just no other way of describing it. And they stopped it after 2 years, and I'm not quite sure why, but I'm just telling you, it was an hour that you never knew each day whether you're going to make it through it or not. And I remember, there were times when literally I didn't know if I was going to make it. And you had one of those teammates, black, white, whoever, would grab you by the arm and make sure you make it. And then the next time you went out, man, I felt strong, and it was me grabbing somebody else's arm. So that relationship with all those guys is just so special. And that's probably what I remember the most as far as my days at the University of Florida, the relationships with those guys and with those people.
Would you say the Florida-Georgia game was the most fun game that you played in each year?
I always enjoyed that. I loved the Florida State game simply because, and I'll tell you an interesting story. You're too young to remember this guy. His name was Ron Simmons. And, and Ron was a small nose guard, All-American nose guard at Florida State, but he literally was Hercules. I mean, the physique on this guy was freakish. And when I was finishing up my official visit at Florida State, I remember I was talking with Ron, and they had those apartments there outside the stadium there where their team stayed. And he basically looked at me and said, "Peace, just remember, you don't come here, you got to deal with me." So once again, my freshman year, national TV late in the last game of the year. And it was an afternoon game, which I hated, by the way. I like playing at noon. Let's play these games. Let's move on. I don't want to think about them all day. So anyway, we're kind of hanging out at the hotel, and it was his last home game as a senior. So they did a tribute on the news to him with that song, Big Bad Ron, and showed all his plays. And I don't mind telling you, I got a little bit intimidated. We're not supposed to admit that, but they were just something, it's like, crap, man, I got to play against Ron Simmons today. And I'm still, 19 years old, right? So, but what I'll never forget is very first play. And Shane, back in those days, I never ran a single play from shotgun. I mean, everything was under center back in those days. Okay. So totally different day to day. But I remember walking up, literally getting ready to put my hands under center. And then Ron Simmons, at nose guard, he just looks at me and hollers and poses with those big old muscles bulging on his arms. And he wore his sleeves all up tight, and I remember thinking, holy crap. But it's funny how just little things like that, the things you remember. But I love playing against Florida State because of obviously the rivalry. And then, honestly, that's the school that my junior year I was going to. I mean, 100% I was going to Florida State. So big memories.
Yeah, talk a little bit about playing for Coach Spurrier with the Tampa Bay Bandits.
Let me tell you, hands down, the most amazing guy, because I sat at the bench over there, so I had a lot of time to sit on the sidelines with him. But most amazing time to sit or stand beside a coach on the sideline and watch him call a game, and it was totally out of his mind. He had no cheat sheets, no 3rd and 10s, no nothing. Everything he did, you watched his mind, and he called it just point blank spontaneous. So it was an amazing year to watch him do that. Tons of respect for Coach Spurrier and what he was able to accomplish. And so it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing how he calls plays. So Wayne, once your pro career was done, you went back to Lakeland, started a State Farm agency. You coached high school ball. Let everybody know what's going on with Wayne Peace right now.
Tell you, Wayne Peace is blessed. People ask me all the time, and I'm just, I'm blessed. I have a wonderful family. I've got a loving wife, Melanie, and I met. We were 15 years old. We've got our 36-year anniversary coming up this year. Awesome. My oldest son is 31. He's in the land business in Thomasville and doing great. My other 2 boys are 28 and 24, and they live in Tallahassee. We have a family business there, and they're running the family business. My 3rd son did graduate from the University of Florida last May, by the way. My daughter just started her junior year at the University of Florida, so we're glad she's up in Gainesville. And yeah, I'm in my 34th year with State Farm. And, I tell kids all the time, I coached high school football as head coach at Lakeland Christian School for 6 years. And I've had a chance to talk to a lot of other athletes during this time since, my playing day's been over. I said, look, dude, if you go to the University of Florida, keep your nose clean, get your degree, you will have opportunities that other people just will not have. And it is so true. The University of Florida has been so amazing in my life, and the way it helped me set me up. And I'll tell you, I was cut by the the Chargers. And I came back to Lakeland, and the local sports writer called me and said, "Hey, when let's do an article." I said, "I'd love to." And he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Man, I've had an amazing opportunity with State Farm, but prior to that, they ran an article. I was cut, and they called and asked me." So I said, and once that hit the paper that I was done, my football career was over with. I had 3 major companies call me that day and say, "Come talk to us. We want you to come interview. We have job opportunities for you. Come talk to us." And that was set up by my days at the University of Florida. So I'll always be very, very thankful for that.
No doubt about it. So when you look back, was Lakeland dominant in high school back in your days as they have been the last 15, 20 years with all the players that have been coming to the university?
No, not at all. And matter of fact, my high school football coach is Bill Castle, who is the legend, who is still the high school football coach at Lakeland High School. And quite honestly, we were not very good. My sophomore year, our whole backfield, running back, fullback, and quarterback, we were all 10th graders. I think we went 5-5. The following year, we went 6-4. And then, it's funny, Castle and I have talked a lot about it since, but his job basically was on the line my senior year. I mean, we as players didn't know that. And coach back in those days was totally a defensive guy. I mean, offensively, we were real, quite honestly, pitiful. I mean, it was, you talking about basic. But my senior year, we actually advanced to the state semifinals, which at that point was the farthest that Lakeland High School had ever, gone in the state playoffs. And obviously from then on, it just has grown and grown. And tell you something kind of interesting. I remember when I got to the University of Florida that summer, they actually signed 4 quarterbacks that year, Shane, 4. And I was the 4th quarterback to sign. Mark Massey out of Pensacola, Pine Forest, Dale Dormy out of Miami, Roger Sobel from Dunellen, and then me. And so I'll never forget that first quarterback meeting with Coach Shanahan when they started breaking down coverage and going over coverages. The other quarterbacks had already seen all that stuff. I had never seen a cover 2 or a cover 3 or man. I'd never seen any of that. We'd never gone over any of that. Right. So it was a little bit of a change. So, but to answer it, no, I mean, it was kind of neat in that my group started that process at Lakeland High School to start them to get to where they were going. And in a lot of ways, it kind of lines up with what happened at the University of Florida. My senior year in high school, the Florida Gators were 0-10-1. And I remember, for back in those days, I was pretty highly recruited. And I remember some people saying when I finally made the commitment to go to Florida, why are you going there? They're awful. And so, but we as a freshman class came in and, we were part of a gradual build. And then by the time our senior year, we finished our senior year, I think we were 9-2-1. And at that time, I believe we finished number 6 in the country, which at that point was the highest Florida had ever finished a season ranked in the history of the University of Florida. So, I was a part of a building process at Lakeland High School and a part of a building process at the University of Florida. So great memories, great memories.
Absolutely, man. Well, we do appreciate you taking the time to join the show today, Wayne. So happy that you could do it. One of our all-time great quarterbacks. And I like to tell everybody the first number 15 at quarterback for us. And
hey, well, Shane, the first time I met Tim, I told him, hey, dude, I was the first 15.
He turned out to be a pretty good number 15.
You know what? I was glad to give that number to somebody else. He represented us pretty well. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Wayne, take care, bud. Hope you and your family are doing well, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Shane. See you, bro.
Yep. That's Wayne Peace joining the program. We're going to take our final time out of this show. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Weeby Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.